Welcome to the Home Team Sacramento podcast. I'm Josh Takimoto, and with us today is the assistant football coach at Yuba College, Alex Zavala. What's going on, Coach?
What's going on, man? How we doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you
Yeah,
got a lot going on. So,
yeah,
uh,
definitely, man. Definitely, it's that time of year, man. But it's good and exciting at the same time.
man, I never played football when I was younger. I mean, I played flag football and stuff like that. But I mean, I was tall and skinny, and I'm the oldest of my family. And my mom's like, "That's not going to happen." And then when my two younger brothers, which is they're 7 and 9 years younger than me, she's like, "Oh yeah, you guys want to play? Go for it." And they ended up quitting in the middle of the preseason workout. So I always tell my mom now, it's like, just so you know, I wouldn't have quit. So, um,
Yeah.
but they probably would have broke me in half if I played. But that being said, though, man, I have a huge appreciation for what you guys do because I just feel like I mean, there's preparation for all sports, but man, the
Yeah.
preparation for football is just it's different. You guys only play once a week, but the preparation that
Yeah.
goes into it is wild.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is it's year round. A lot of people think that it just goes, for a few months out of the year, but for us, especially at the level I'm at, I know it's year round.
Right.
Whether it's film breakdown, or it's having meetings with the guys that you're in contact with, or if it's just having staff meetings. It's year round for us. Obviously, with COVID, it's changed everything, and
Yeah.
COVID it just kind of threw everything out of whack. But I mean, prior to COVID, I mean, it was a weekly thing. Maybe 3 to 4 days a week, we were either doing text messages or phone calls, or we were coming down to the campus and we'd meet once a week and talk. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot of preparation. I mean, I'm sure that there's other sports that do the same thing. You know what I mean? But I mean, as far as for what we do at our level, I mean, yeah, it's year round, and then once you actually get into the season, it's almost like an all day thing, you
Right.
know.
Man, it's crazy. So, and I have a ton more, coaching questions and football questions
Uh,
for you. But man, I want to jump off here because this is typically where we start with everybody. Tell us a little bit about your athletic and coaching background, and then how you ended up at Yuba College. Because I mean,
oh
I'll
man,
say this before you start that, man. You sent me
yeah,
an article when we first set this thing up, and I was reading the
yeah,
article. I didn't realize how crazy your journey was. It's
yeah.
it's a wild journey. So I'm really excited to hear this, man. So please go ahead.
So I'm from Galt. I'm originally from Galt. I graduated from Galt High School in 1998, and I played football my sophomore through my senior year. So I played basketball, football, did a little bit of track, but it was just mainly football. Um, I didn't start playing football until about eighth grade. That was my first year. Prior to that, it was all soccer for me. My older brother played soccer, and my dad growing up played soccer, so it was all soccer for us. But I was that tall, skinny kid that my mom didn't want me to play football because she felt like
I
I
get
was
it.
gonna get hurt. But we all my buddies played. I mean, everybody was playing. So my parents let me play football, and it was probably at that time one of the best things that could have happened for me. Um, and it just kind of carried over to high school ball. I played a little bit of everything in high school, but my senior year, I was mainly a defensive player, outside linebacker. And then once I graduated from Gall, I went to Sac City for summer ball. The Sac City head football coach was, I forget his first name, but his last name was Coach Griffin. He was an English teacher at Gall High School.
Hmm.
So he recruited a bunch of us, and this is back when City was the junior college to go to for football in the area. Spent all summer going through summer ball, and just to be told, right after summer ball was over, Coach Griffin pulled me in the office and said, "Hey, man, you're not going to play much this year. You're going to redshirt." I had like these two All-American linebackers that were in front of me. He just said, for me, it was just, I just want to go to school, play some ball, get my degree, and move on. I'm not looking to go big time, and I knew that I wasn't. So the next day I was up at Sierra College. So I ended up going to Sierra College to play football. And when I got done playing football, it was pretty much, I went to work, started working in the restaurant. Well, I've been working in the restaurant industry since I was in high school, but
Hmm.
became a manager at Applebee's, and I was just working and finishing school, just kind of keeping busy. And then um, I was approached to play semi-pro. 23 years old, I was still in shape, and so I played around the semi-pro scene for a while, and then about 2006, 2007, I blew my knee out twice, tore my ACL.
Oh,
Just nasty. Yeah, it was bad. So I was pretty much home recovering from ACL surgery. Galt High School had just got a new head coach. And I was like, you know what, man, I just kind of told myself, well, I just want to kind of go hang out, be involved, and be around the kids and just kind of be around the program again. And just little by little, I started off as a JV offensive and defensive line coach. And then shortly thereafter, just kind of transitioned from JV to varsity as an assistant. And I was at Galt for about 4 years. The last year I was there was the first year that Liberty Ranch High School came into Galt. So
hmm.
it was kind of like, it was during that transition where, happens when you get a new high school in town, all the kids start leaving the old high
Right.
school to go to the new high school. And we only had like 18 kids on
Ooh,
the varsity team. So at that point, we had hired a new football coach at Galt, but I wasn't sure if I was staying on staff or not. So what I did was, at that time I was working graveyard at a casino. I was an assistant beverage manager, and I just kind of told myself, I'm like, you know what, man, I really want to do something more with this. I was just a varsity assistant line coach. I'm like, man, I want to step up a little bit more. So I was taking some summer school classes at Sierra, and I sent Coach Tisdale, Jeff Tisdale, an email like at 3 o'clock in the morning, working graveyard. And all I said was like, hey, coach, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. Like, do you guys need any assistance? I'll come on board and I'll pretty much be a ball boy. I just want to, I want to go up to the next level. And like an hour later, he calls me at like 4:30 in the morning. And I'm just, what the heck?
dang.
He's up. He's an early riser. So
Yeah.
he says, well, come by and talk. Come by. We'll sit down, talk a little bit. So he knew my old high school coach, and he knew a few coaches that I knew, and he was like, well, we're going to give you a little tryout. Come out for summer ball. If the kids like you, then we'll keep you. If not, then you got to move on. I said, perfect. He's like, but you got to be here every day. If you're not going to be here, I need to know. He was very strict about that. He didn't want anybody on the program that was going to hurt the program. So there went. Summer ball went around. I just was pretty much for the first 10 or 15 minutes of practice, I did the offensive line individual drills. And after that, I was pretty much a ball boy for the rest of practice.
Hmm.
We had our practice sheets where, he would give us, he'd tell us which yard line the ball needed to be, which has, and I needed to have it there. So that was it. I mean, that was it for the whole summer. As soon as summer ball was over, he pretty much hired me, but there was no pay. It was pretty much, hey, we'll pay you in gear. We'll buy you lunch. And, so I was like, no worries. I was working part-time at the time. I didn't have my daughter yet. I was like, hey, it's all good, coach. I can work part-time here or there. We'll make it work, So pretty much I worked side by side with him in 2012. And I learned so much from Tisdale. I mean, everything we did, he was just, he come here, he showed me everything. We do film together, long days. I'm talking. We would get home from a road game, Sunday mornings at like 2, 3 in the morning, and we'd have to be back at 8 a.m. to do film from like 8 a.m. to like 6 p.m. And it was
Hmm.
just, just breaking down film. And Tisdale was at Nevada Reno for a while.
Yeah.
So he left Nevada, came back to Sierra. So I mean, the environment that he had as for his coaches was kind of like that, that D1 expectation as far as like you got to make sure your guys know what they're doing. So while I was on staff at Sierra, we went to a bowl game that year. I ended up getting hired. I was offensive line coach there. One of our wide receivers coaches named Skip Albano. He goes overseas to Europe every year to coach. Their season starts in January, so a lot of Europe, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, a lot of these countries they have football, and it's just like at the opposite time as our season starts. So he approached me when the season was over, and he says, "Hey, coach, I got a question for you." He's like, "Hey, man, I got a job for you if you want to take it. I said, what's that? He goes, there's a team in France that's looking for a coach. And I was like, what? He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and he's like filling me in. And I'm like, whatever, Skip. Because Skip would always mess with me. And I was like, so he's like, no, I'm serious. He goes, I think his in-laws or his wife's mom was sick or something. So he's like, I can't go, man. Like, but they asked me if I knew somebody. He's like, you don't have a job? Like, you're not, like, you want to go? I'm like, oh, okay. So about a week later, I got an email from the team. It's in France. It's called Flash de la Courneuve. It's a little suburb of Paris, and they're like, "Yeah, we want to have a Zoom meeting with you." So okay, cool. So we did a Zoom interview with myself and then the head coach that was Rick Rhodes. He was from like the Alabama area. He's been around coaching, Troy State. He coached in the XFL. He's been all over the place. He's one of Skip's friends. So they pretty much interviewed me, and like a day later was like, "You got the job,"
Wow.
So yeah, so I had to get my passport. I had to, get all that paperwork ready, and this was late November, I think. So they're like, "Okay, well, what's the closest airport?" And I'm like, "San Francisco." They're like, "All right, man, you got a ticket for January 3rd. You're flying out." And I
Whoa.
was like, "Wow, yeah."
Yeah.
So I had a month to like, I was like, "Holy crap!" And so then I didn't ask any questions. So as we were getting closer, I started asking the coach that I got hired with. I was like, "Hey, how long are we gonna be gone for?" He's like, "Oh, we'll probably be out there for like 7, 8 months." And I was like, "Holy crap!"
Oh,
Yeah. So you know, took care of business while I was here, and I mean, next thing you know, man, I'm on a 14-hour flight to Paris, and I got there, and so at that time, the league that we were in, every team was allowed to have like two international players. So we had a guy from Oregon and a guy from Texas
mhm.
that I had connected with prior to leaving. So when we got there, we kind of already knew who we were, and we each had our own little studio apartment. We had a travel pass that we could go anywhere in downtown Paris. Um, just had like this little card. You swipe it, and you got on the bus, on the light rail, on the taxi, and it was just like it was like I don't know, maybe towards the end of January is when we actually started working and coaching. Um, we practiced 3 days a week, and we played on Saturdays. And um, the other times that we weren't practicing, it was just like do whatever you want. So we just, we go
Wow.
on trips. Yeah, it was like I think like the first big trip I took was I went to Normandy and checked out the beaches of Normandy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like we had this little car. And it was a 3 or 4 hour drive out of Paris, and we spent the whole day out there. It was just all that stuff was just it was just definitely like a dream come true. I mean, I couldn't believe that I was in Paris, in
Yeah.
France, and
Right.
so the team that we coached, they had a history of winning championships. Like they had won national championships forever, and it was supposed to be a down year for them when they hired us. But to make a long story short, man, we had a good run. We made it all the way to the national championship. I was the defensive coordinator for the team. We ended up finishing the season off. We lost in the title game, 14-7.
Hmm.
Um, had the number one defense in Europe. It was just like all of these experiences that I had with the coaches that I worked with. When we weren't coaching for the team, we were running youth football camps for the kids. The organization had like their elite team, which was like like their professional team, and then they had a couple feeder programs that we worked with and would coach in the off time. It was just an overall great experience. I mean, I didn't have to worry about work. Everything was paid for as far as my housing, um, transportation, any kind of, insurance, medical, anything. Everything was paid for. They fed us every day. So it was just it was just a great experience, man. I mean, I look back on that and it's like, it just happened for me at the right time.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so we went out there and it was fun. I mean, but as soon as the championship game was over, I mean, we were all ready to come home.
Sure. Sure.
It was like late June, so that's like when the tourist season starts. everything gets expensive out there and it's no fun anymore. It's hot.
Right.
And we're like, all right, we're ready to go home.
It's time to bounce. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it was great, man. And, while I was out there though, the cool thing is like every team out there had American coaches. There was American players. So there was guys on other teams that were in and out of NFL camps. So we had an opportunity. I mean, I've met so many people. I was out there a lot. I made a lot of, some of the guys are still friends to this day, a lot of connections and, just a lot of people in the football world that, that have helped me along the way. Um, and it's been great, man. When I got home from France, the very first week, I got offered a job to go back to Italy. All these job offers started coming in, but it just, the money wasn't right, and then the housing and all that stuff, all the details just weren't right. But I mean, a lot of teams till this day. I mean, I get emails every year around November, asking, "Hey, you want to come out and coach?" Obviously, I have my daughter now, so I mean, I can't really do that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a cool thing to do. It's one of those things like when I'm older and retired and I don't have kids I got to take care of, I'd be real happy to travel the world and coach football.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy, man. Like I said, man, I read your article. I'm like, that's the part that probably stuck out the most. I'm like, oh, he
yeah,
he, he was coaching a French team. Like,
yeah,
what is this? Like, how much different is the game? I mean, maybe not the
man,
game, but like the culture of the game, right? The style of play. I mean, I know I'm
it's
not a big soccer guy, but like I know
yeah,
people that love soccer and they talk about how different those
yeah,
styles are, right? It's like the same with football.
it's a little different out there in the sense that people want to learn and they want to get better.
Yeah.
There's guys out there that, and especially on a team like the team that we had, there was a couple of guys that played in the old NFL Europe League, and
Oh
they played
yeah.
for the Barcelona Dragons. So there's a lot of older guys on the team, but there was guys on our squad that they're trying to make it out of France and get into the league and get into the States. And there's some of the guys did.
Really?
One of the guys, Anthony Mahungu, he ended up going to West Hills College in Kalinga in 2014. Got a full ride scholarship to Purdue. He ended up going to camp with the Eagles the year after they won the Super Bowl. So I mean, there's a lot of guys that So it's just different in a sense out there that people want to, the players want to learn. They want to be coached up and they take it all in. There was times we would have meetings after football practice and guys would call us or text us, "Hey, can we meet?" And like, yeah. And as a coach, man, you love it when the guys want to learn and they want to get better. They want to watch film. So as far as the speed, it is a little bit slower out there. But again, I mean, it just kind of depends on as the coaches that they bring in. A lot of the teams have American coaches. So it just kind of a lot of those teams keep the same coach year after year. So, but for the most part, man, it's just about the same. There are some things that are a little different here and there. Like when we travel to away games, like we would bring two officials and they would have two officials. So it was just kind of, yeah,
What?
it was weird with the officiating crew. It was like, but I mean, they do what they got to do to make things happen, So,
Right.
but I mean, yeah, the kids out there, because here in Europe, I mean, the first thing in France is rugby. Rugby is big,
Yeah.
then it's soccer, then basketball, then football. So, it was a great learning experience for me, and it was fun, man. We had a blast, especially with the guys that I was coaching with. I mean, we just had a blast, and I soaked it all. But every time I got an opportunity to go out, I mean, it was like no practice today, no nothing. I was packing a lunch, and we were going to check out museums and just checking out all those cool things that are out there. So much history out there in France.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Let me ask you this. So I'm sure, like, obviously, you played sports. I played sports, not the same level that you did, but I love sports, man. And I know I can think back to guys that I played baseball with in high school, and even before high school, and I was just playing like in pony
Mhm.
ball and stuff like that. And I remember guys that when you're even back then, you're watching them. It's like, okay, at some point, this dude's gonna go coach. And sure enough,
Yeah.
there's probably about 4 or 5 guys that I played with that had
Mhm.
that mentality as players that are now coaching somewhere else.
Yeah.
Was that you? Did you always know you were going to coach, or did you kind of
Yeah.
like find the passion for it later?
Growing up, my dad was big into soccer. My
Okay.
older brother and I, as we were younger, man, it was all soccer in the house. So my dad used to play when he was younger. I don't know how far my dad got with soccer because he had my older brother and sister, but my mom used to tell us stories about how, she used to go watch my dad play. And I remember when I was younger too, we used to go watch my dad play on the adult soccer leagues on Sundays. But my dad coached a lot. And when he coached the adult teams, he was very successful. Like he would have his teams always in tournaments, winning championships. And I would always go to practice with him. So like I always watched my pops coach, and it was one of those things where like not only did I look up to my dad because he's my dad, he's my hero and everything, but I mean I always wanted to be just like my dad.
Hmm.
And a lot of things that I do now with the coaching and the interaction that I have with my players, it's like I see a lot of that I got from my pops. My dad he was like he was very strict with his players, and like he knew when to push them, but he also knew when to kind of back off a little bit. And my dad was just like he was a very, very attention to detail, and he would tell you why he's teaching you what he's telling you. Like, it was just really good coach. And my dad was, as a coach, he was very successful. He knew the game really well. Um, he would even do like he would referee soccer games whenever there was any kind of big games, any kind of exhibition games that would come into like the Sacramento area,
Yeah.
whether if it was like semi-professional, whatever. My dad would always get that call, and he would do a lot of the games. So my dad was very big in the game, and he knew it very well. And I just always would see myself like, man, I want to be just like my dad when I get older. And I've done a lot of things that you know, my on Sundays we'd go to church, and then we'd go to soccer games afterwards. And
Yeah.
it was me, my brother, my sisters, and my mom. We'd be there hanging out, watching the games, and whether my dad was coaching or if he was coaching, playing, or refing. And my daughter now, I take her to football practice, and she loves it. She loves being there.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
She enjoys it. It's never like, "Hey, Bobby, can we go home?" Like, no, she's out there, and when it's time to go home, she doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
So,
It's like
so
remember the Titans,
yeah,
that father
yeah,
daughter, remember the Titans. Yeah.
yeah. My daughter loves it.
Yeah.
She loves going to football practice, and then when we have games, if I have her, if she comes with me, she goes with me, and she's really good. She's really good with that, and so yeah. I mean, I always saw myself doing that when I was younger. You know,
Yeah.
but and part of the main reason why I got into coaching was I just wanted to give back. You know, going to golf. We had a great team my junior senior year. The coaches that coached me back then, they did a lot for me. Um, and they were just some of my role models growing up. So when I got into coaching, I just wanted to give back to the program that gave so much to me.
Yeah.
And I knew some of the guys that were coaching. Some guys were a little bit older than me, but it was just one of those things. Well, let me if I can teach someone or share my experience with some of these kids and they can learn from it, then I'm good.
Yeah. I love it, man. And I love the fact, I know I've heard this from a lot of coaches because like we talked about at the very beginning, coaching is such a grind. There's so much sacrifice, so much time that it
Yeah,
requires. And when you have a family, that can be a really tough thing to balance. And so I
oh
hear a
yeah,
lot of coaches do the same thing that you're doing, where you bring your daughter, they bring their kids to the practices and to the
yeah,
games so that they can be involved in what you're doing. And I imagine that that's a huge thing for some of your athletes too, because obviously you've been around coaching for a while. You know that
yeah,
everybody has different backgrounds, everybody has different family structures. Some guys that come into your program may have great relationships with their dad like you did.
yeah,
Some may not have a dad. And
yeah.
so, is that something that's on the at the forefront of their minds? Like when they see you interact with your daughter, that you're being an example of what a dad looks like to those guys, and it's they probably almost see you as a father figure. Like, is that something
Yeah,
that's like, do you feel that responsibility when you're out there?
yeah, no, definitely. When I used to coach the youth football program, I used to tell my guys, like when I was the head coach of the youth team, I used to tell my coaches we'd always meet on Sundays. But I would always tell them, like, hey, if you got stuff to do with the family, just go. It's cool. Like, don't worry about it. Just let me know. Or hey, if you got to bring the kids to practice, bring them to practice. Like, it's all good. Like, I don't mind doing it. I remember when I was younger, when I was in high school, um, one of my best friends is Adam Feuerbach. His dad, Coach Feuerbach, he just retired. I think last year he was our football coach at Galt. Adam's older brother, Jason, was at Whitney, I think, for a while. I think he just got hired on a CIF or whatever.
Okay.
His two younger brothers, Shane and Zach, man, they said, come to practice, man. And these kids were like just little guys running around practice field, throwing the bags at each other, beating up on each other. And it was like they were part of the team, you know what I mean? They never
Yeah.
got in the way.
Yeah.
They never got in the way. They never really hurt each other, but they were always there and they were always running around the locker room. But it was cool to see them interact with their dad, and it was kind of like, man, like that's cool, like they're out here. And that's like my coach at Yuba, like he doesn't mind if I bring my daughter around. Even Coach Hole, when he was there, he's like, yeah, bring her around. It's cool. Like she's here. She's got a little scooter, a little bike. And some of the guys, my players approach me and they're like, oh, that's cool that you have that relationship with your daughter. And I tell them like, hey man, I'm always gonna be a father first. Like that's something that's no question, that, like I'm always gonna be a father first to her. But I also like I've been some players that they don't have a father. They're not the father figures aren't around, and I do what I can to kind of fill in that void. And they approach me, because a lot of these kids that we have on campus they're from out of state, so
Yeah.
things happen. They go through stuff. They call us and they call me, and yeah, I mean it's like they see me interacting with my daughter and they like it, and they just kind of also they kind of see what kind of person I am, you know what I mean? And for me, it's like, man, I'm always going to be a dad first,
Yeah.
and everything else comes second. So, but it's great, man. I love having her around, and the coaches are cool with it, and the players like it, and they enjoy it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's what, that's one of those things that anytime we talk to a coach and you, or even an athlete, you ask them like, hey man, what's something that you remember from one of your favorite coaches? And it's never like, I remember when they called this play during the championship game that won the whole
Yeah,
thing. It has nothing to do with the X's and O's. It's always moments like that. Like, oh, I remember when Coach Zavala was spending time with his daughter while he
yeah,
was coaching us. Or hey, I remember when this coach visited me in the hospital, or, whatever the case
yeah,
is. So it's like, obviously we want to win games, we want to win titles, and you want to be successful, in the
yeah,
standings on the scoreboard. But obviously there's like a much greater impact that can happen, with sports. And I think that's
oh
something
yeah,
that
definitely,
you definitely touched on in that article that you sent me. And I think you were referring to your dad, and I think other coaches that you had, where the things that you learn, the disciplines, the work ethic, everything that you learned during sports is stuff that's still benefiting you today. And I know
yeah,
you own your own business. Um,
yeah.
like how much of that do you feel like how important was that to your development as a man, as a dad, as a business owner, like all of those things? Like how important
Yeah.
was sports to that part of your
Man,
life?
it's been a huge part of my life. When I was going into my senior year at golf, I was the quarterback. I was going to be the man for the QB, and this is something that happened to me where at that time I didn't understand. It was one of those things where like down the road as I got older, I realized like what had happened. But I was pulled into the office in summer school, and I was told by my coach, he's like, "You're not going to play quarterback this year. You're going to play defense, and that's it." And the story, and I had been playing quarterback all through high school. So I'm like, I quit. I don't want to do this. And my best friend's dad, Adam Forbach's dad, Coach Forbach, Mark, he reminded me a lot of my dad with the way he approached this. Like he had that mentality, that mindset. Is like, I don't want to hear you complaining. I don't want to hear you cry. If you don't want to do it, get off the field and don't come back. But he pulled me aside and was like, hey, look, this is a better move for the team. Yes, like you'd be great playing quarterback, but it's gonna make us better as a team. He kind of gave me this little talk, and yeah, I was like, all right, coach, all right, and as the season went on, yes, I saw later down the road where it was, but it taught me so much about like, a lot of times things happen and you're like, what like why is this going on right now? Why is this happening? And maybe you don't have that answer right then and there. But as you keep pushing, you keep plugging, you keep moving, you keep doing your thing down the road, like it all just kind of starts to come together and make sense. So sports for me has been huge, and uh, to help me with everything that I've done. Um, working in the food and beverage industry is not easy. It's one of the hardest things that I've done because I've worked in warehouses and I've done other kinds of jobs. But I mean, there's days where you work 6, 7 hours and you're good. There's days where you put in 14-hour days back to back, and it's never easy. You sacrifice time with your family, your friends, your personal time. People are calling you like, "Hey, we're hanging out. I gotta work." But the weekends, I'm working. But at the end of the day, man, it's like it makes me feel good about the hard work that I put in because you start to see it all pay off and you start achieving your goals and you start, getting these things done and you're like, wow, like, and that's just, it all comes from football. When I was in high school, my coaches, they were very strict with us with our classwork, our homework, playing time. You miss practice, you don't play. I don't care, whatever it is. And that's just how it is now with work. You got to show up on time. You got to do the work, and if you work 14 hours, you got to do it. If you're not working 14 hours, well, good for you. Enjoy it. But it's helped me a lot, man, and it's everything I do now. The preparation, the commitment, it's just all about sports for me. I mean, I try to use all that for everything. It's helped me. It's helped me get to where I'm at, right now.
Yeah.
So there's still so much more that I want to do and I want to accomplish. But I mean, for now, like I'm happy with where I'm at. Life's good, everything's good, and it's been fun. But I know there's so much more to come, So
Right.
excited.
That's awesome, man. Let me ask you this, and I should have asked it a little while ago, but I went on to something different. But um, I know sometimes when guys go back and women go back to coach and they're still pretty young and still pretty fresh off their playing days, it can be pretty challenging. Not for
Yeah,
everybody, but there's that raw passion, that raw emotion that you're taking into
yeah.
a coaching situation, and you kind of pull your hair out sometimes. Like why don't these kids get it? Like why aren't they putting that
Yeah.
same energy in? What was that like for you? Like, did you have a tough time with that transition, or was
Oh
it
yeah,
pretty easy? Yeah,
man. It was hard. It was hard, man.
yeah,
It was. I remember my first 2 years. It was just like the yelling and screaming, and I thought and I always thought like that's what good coaches do. And I took a step back, and as I got older, started maturing as an adult, I started realizing like, man, like as a player, I didn't like getting yelled at. I'd
yeah,
shut down. If you yelled at me, I would shut down. And if you wouldn't talk to me and tell me what I'm doing wrong, and that was part of the problem was that I wasn't explaining to them what they were doing wrong. And I was very lucky and had some good coaches along the way that kind of would give me those talks and like, hey man, you gotta relax a little bit. You gotta talk to them, and you gotta know when to back off. And so as I got older, it changed. I had a coach that I knew that coached me when I was younger, who would always tell me like, hey, relax, like you gotta. So yeah, I mean, it's like that. It happens to a lot of us. I've been through it.
yeah,
So I always want like, I'm hurt. No, you're not. Like, it was always like, hey, I did it. You can do it. But it's different now. The game
yeah.
is a lot different, and kids are different. It's just a lot of different expectations now than it was before. But yeah, no, I definitely went through those growing pains as a coach, and I was lucky. I had the right coaches around me
Yeah.
that kind of guided me and made me the coach I am today. So
Yeah, that's it's I always love asking that question because everybody has the same reaction that you did. It's like it was tough. It was tough. And like it just,
yeah,
which makes sense, right? Because like I mean, you're still growing up at the same time, right? And you're trying to come back and
yeah,
coach. And there's that like the heart behind it's really good. You want to impact some
yeah.
lives, you want to teach the game, but there is still that thing inside of you, like that fire is burning so bright inside of you.
Oh
It's like,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, at some point, some of these coaches I talk to, they're like, I just wanted to take the helmet from the kid and just hop on the field myself. You know what I mean? Like, just let me, hey man, let me do this. Let me just do this for you
yeah,
because you're not doing it right.
yeah.
But it's one of the challenges of being a coach. Like you said, it's awesome that you were surrounded by awesome people. Um,
Yeah, man. I had a lot of good people around me that really helped guide me, and uh, were always there for me. So it helped a lot. It was a blessing. You know.
yeah, that's awesome. Um, so I know you've been around the game for a while, and you seem to know just a ton of coaches. One of the questions we ask on the show is obviously our tagline is, even though we wear different uniforms, we're still a part of this home team. Especially
Uh-huh.
if your vision, your mission is to impact the lives of young athletes and make them better and make your communities better. Like we're battling on Fridays and Saturday nights, right? But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, like we're all a part of the same home team in Sacramento and the areas beyond. That being said, we want to win. We like to win, and
yeah.
we want to beat the opponent that's across the field from us. Who's a coach that you've coached against that you just have like the utmost respect for, and that you just love competing against because
Uh-huh.
they bring out the best in you? Even though you want to beat them, it's like I have
Yeah.
nothing but love and respect for that coach because of what they do on the field for their athletes and what they do as far as bringing out the best of us. Like, who's a coach that what comes to
Oh
mind?
man. I mean, I don't have a specific coach.
Yeah.
I don't really have a specific coach, but if I could use it was I used to run the Galt Junior Warriors, the youth football program,
Hmm.
and I was there for about 5 or 6 years, and we played in a pretty tough league. It wasn't the Sac Youth Football League. It was the some league down south, but the Liberty Ranch Junior Hawks. The new program across town was in our league,
Yeah.
and when I was there, it was like we always had that. Every time we go to playoffs, my coach was like, "Who are we gonna get?" I was like, "Anybody but the Hawks. Anybody but the Hawks, because we can beat anybody." But it's when you play them, it's just always tough. But every year we played them. Every year, whether it was like the little guys or the bigger kids, every year we played them. Um, they brought the best out of us as coaches and as kids, man. And I always loved the crosstown rivalry
Yeah.
because it was fun. I mean, it was tough. We boys would get after each other, and I know a lot of guys on that side. I can't really name anybody specifically, but it was just always when we played them, and that carried over to high school too. I mean, I coached at Galt in 2016 and 2017, and we did the Dairy Bowl. And the first year we were at Galt, I mean, we went all the way down to the wire against the Hawks. I mean, a lot of the coaches on that staff are guys that used to be at Galt. So I mean,
Wow.
it's just that whole crosstown rivalry for me has always been big. I mean, it's been a while since I've been in Galt and coached. I mean, but I mean, that's one of those things that I always look back on. And I just today I was moving some boxes and I pulled out some team pictures that I had, and I was like, oh, I remember that year, but the Hawks got us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's
Yeah.
always good to have that. And at the end of the day, you shake it up, and it's all love, and that's what it's all about for me. I don't think I've ever been a part of anything that's never been like that for me. They've been at the JUCO level, at the high school. Win or lose, man, it's always just all love, and it's just like um, it's always a good time. That's what it is for me, at least.
Yeah. That's awesome. Uh, I apologize if you already mentioned this, but is there a reason why you wanted to be at that JC level rather than like a high school level or?
Man, I'll tell you, Josh, man, my goal until this day, man, is I want to coach in the NFL someday. That's my
Yeah.
goal. It's one of those things that um, that I've always set out to do. I want to keep moving up. And when I got to Sierra, I was with Tisdale, and then our running backs coach, Montreal Williams, Coach Montreal, he passed away a few years ago. He was the guy that brought me to Yuba.
Hmm.
He taught me. I learned a lot, and we were the two offensive assistants that he was still. I think he was still going to school to get his degree. So we were always just together on away games. We had a couple long road trips, and and I just learned so much from the guy. And when my daughter was born, I took a few years off from football, and I shot him a text, and I was like, "Hey man, like where you at right now?" He's like, "I'm at Yuba," and I said, "Man, I kind of want to get back." Not even 5 minutes later, he calls me. He's like, "Hey man, we need an O-line coach right now." And I'm
Wow.
like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, like I'm gonna have Coach Hole call you." I was like, "Okay." So like the very next day, Coach Hole, he lived in Davis. I was working in Woodland. We met, had coffee, and it was real quick. I mean, and that year we went on to win a bowl game. We had the number 4 rushing team in the state of California. Everything that I learned from Tisdale, I carry everything with me, and I have that confidence in myself that I know I'm a great offensive line coach, and my goal is just to keep going. Keep going, and hopefully coach at that highest level one day. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
and
that.
that's where I want to be at, man. I mean, a lot of people, I don't, a lot of people have helped me along the way. Definitely grateful. I've had a lot of great coaches that have worked with me, and I've been part of a lot of great staffs. I spent a year at Granite Bay. I learned so much there in just that one year I was there.
Yeah.
I was at Sierra with Tisdale for a year, and then went back to Galt, and kind of bounced around a little bit here and there. I've been offered jobs everywhere here in Sacramento, but I'm at Yuba right now. I like it. We have a good thing going. It's a small JUCO, it's not very big, and we do lose a lot of guys to ARC and City, but
Sure.
I mean it's good for what we're doing, and I like it. It's fun, and I want to keep growing with them. I just want to keep going up, man. That's my goal. It's my goal is to coach the NFL one day.
I love it, man.
So
I love that.
yeah,
It seems that based on just everything you've been saying, it seems like everything when you reach out to someone, stuff happens fast. Like
yeah,
the France trip, it's like, hey, get on a plane, you're in France, and then this job, like, hey,
yeah,
make a phone call, hey, you're on the team, you're offensive line coach. Like, just seems
yeah.
like that's how your life goes, man.
Yeah, I mean it's quick, and just yesterday I got a phone call from I guess called Recruit Nation. I guess that's like a new. There's a showcase in June here in Sacramento, and they called me like, "Hey, can you be there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like let's do it." Like
Yeah.
I like that. I like that scene. When you do the combines and doing the camps and working with kids. I used to do the Nike one that they used to have out in San Francisco or the Bay Area every
Oh
year.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The opening.
yeah, the opening.
The opening.
And
Yeah.
my first one was when Eric Armstead, he was a senior at Pleasant Grove High School.
Oh really?
So yeah, so I mean, I was every year I was out there working with O linemen, and one year they had me working with linebackers, and it's cool because there's always, like one year Willie McGinnis was there. A lot of NFL guys come in and out of that
Wow.
place. So, but I like doing that kind of stuff. I love working with guys. I'm all about process, and I'm a process guy. I love the process, and yeah, man, it seems like things just happen, and the way I am is like I know if I don't jump on this opportunity now, I'm not going to get it down the road.
Yeah.
So that's why when people say, "Hey, you want to do this?" Like, yep, let's do it. Let's go. And I love it. That's why when I got the call from Montreal about Yuba, I was like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. I had gotten a few other phone calls from a few other high schools here in Sacramento, and I was like, hey man, I can't do it, man. I'm working like crazy right now. I got my daughter. I just can't. I don't want to waste anybody's time. But yeah, man, it's good. It's fun, man. I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it when I do it. But then also when it's time to work and be a dad, I love doing that as well. You know what I mean? So that's very important to me. So I always got to have that balance with football and the family time with my daughter. And obviously, if something's got to go, it's got to be football or just my daughter is just it's important to me. So
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And I'm sure a lot of coaches listening feel that same way. So it's probably always nice to hear that from another coach. That's like, oh yeah,
yeah,
there's awesome dads out there that are, love the game, are passionate about the game, but the main thing is still the main thing. It's family. So
yeah.
I love that.
I've taken some time off, and with COVID, it's been COVID was kind of a blessing in disguise because that year that we had was it 2020 when COVID hit really hard. My role changed on the football team, so I was doing a lot more on campus stuff.
Hmm.
So my daughter had just started school, so I was like, oh man, how am I gonna do this and drive there and drive here, and I was stressing out. And then when I got the phone call that there was gonna be no season, the very next day we got the email from school that hey, we're gonna do Zoom classes every day. So that just gave me like more time with my daughter. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
for sure.
and I took it. I was like, hey, man, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to be on the grind, but spending time with my kid is a lot more important to me. So it was, so now that we're getting, last year was tough, the same COVID issues, and this year now we're getting back into the full swing of things. We're excited, man. I'm fun. I'm ready to go. Kind of rejuvenated a little bit, took some time off and
Yeah.
got the restaurant going and we're just ready to roll, man. That's it. So we're getting ready to start our summer ball here in a few weeks. So we're excited, man. So it's been
There
a
we go.
long road, but I know that there's a lot more and for me, it's like I love coaching. I love working with other coaches. Anytime I can help out another coach, or if a coach comes to me and says, "Hey, coach, can you?" Yeah, man. If I could teach them something, regardless if it's gonna make them better than me or not, like I'm good with it. Because I had guys that did that to me, where they were teaching me stuff and showing me things that they didn't have to, but they did. And so anytime I get in a room with people, I go to every coaching clinic I can make it to. Any kind of football get together that involves coaches and meeting coaches, I'm there as much as I can be, and just try to get to know people and get to know everybody involved in the game. So It's fun, man. I love it. I enjoy it, man. It's just good times, you know. At the end of the day, if things don't work out, at least I made some good friends, and you know, it's fun. It's fun.
Well, and you can say that you gave it everything you had too, man. Like it's not like
Yeah,
you know, just like, and I love what you said. I got two more questions for you before we get you
yeah,
out of here. Uh, but I love what you said about, you know, you're someone, you have the personality where it's like you're going to jump on the opportunity because you don't
yeah,
know if that opportunity is going to come again, and it probably won't if you don't jump on it in
yeah.
that moment. Now, obviously, you're at a junior college, and
Uh-huh.
so that's, I imagine, you know, again, I didn't play at that level, but I imagine there's a mentality for a lot of guys that come through the program that where they're in your program, but they're looking ahead, right? They're looking
Yeah.
ahead that next level. How do you teach them, and how do you mentor them in a way where they're like, hey, I know you have bigger plans, but you've got to focus here right now. Like, how do you convey that to them?
You know, for me, I just, oh man, it's I always try to have like an open door policy with my guys, especially with my linemen. I always try to get to know them on a personal level, and I always, every time I see them, we talk, and it's not always football; it's just personal stuff, whatever. But you know, we've had guys that, oh man, I'm trying to go D1. It's like, look, I get it. You know, I get you're trying to get there, and you're probably gonna get there, but there's a process to everything, you know, and this is part of the process, and this is step one and two. And if you really want to get there and get there the way you want to get there, you got to get this done here right now. And you know, my goal is, I always tell these guys, my goal is to get you ready for the next level. Yeah, I want to win, but if you can get out of here with better skills and being a better lineman and be a better guy for the next team you're going to play for, like my job's done. And I always just try to get them to understand the process. It's all part of the process, and while you're here, it's part of it. So you got to give it your all,
Yeah.
you know. And some guys understand, some kids don't, and it's a battle all year long. And then you get to the end of the season, and they're like, "Oh, I should have listened to your coach." And even then, I'm just like, "Hey, man, it's all good." Again, it's
Yeah.
just part of the process. You know what I mean? And so that's what we try to teach them, and we try to preach to these guys, you know. And if I have any examples, I try to tell them and show them and explain to them, like, look, man, like if you want to go here, and I know you're gonna go somewhere, but you gotta get this done now. You gotta get it done here the way we're asking you to.
Yeah.
Because when these coaches are gonna come in and they're gonna ask me about you, they're gonna want to talk to me about you. What am I gonna tell them? Oh, he didn't want to listen. He doesn't want to do this. Like, so I always try to get my guys to buy in and understand, like, hey, man, it's just part of the process, and this is the process that you gotta master while you're here, man. So you know, it's always good when I can talk to them, and then I also check in with them at night. Like, hey, how's everything going? You good? How's school? You need anything? You need this? Okay, we'll go see so and so tomorrow when you get on campus. And you know, so I think some of the players take it well when you know the stuff that they're supposed to do when they ask you the question and you have the answer. They're like, all right, coach knows what he's talking about, so I got
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I think that's great advice, and that's a great which is an awesome thing, man. Like I love that. I love the process, because I mean it's not
yeah.
easy for anybody for anything, right? Not just sports, but anytime you
No,
have to go through a
man.
process,
You
whether
know,
it's, you
for
know,
for me, you know, I'm not a guy who's, I mean, it's been hard. You know, a lot of things have happened. You know, I went to school, played ball, I got out, played semi-pro, blew my knee out twice. You know, a lot of things have happened, like for everybody, right? I mean, we all go through things, and it's life. I mean, but as long as you keep pushing forward and just try to understand that, hey, man, it's just part of the process. You know what I mean? And eventually, you're going to get there. And for me, that's just with everything. You know, I mean, shoot, like my house right now, man, I'm trying to finish painting and doing this and doing that.
yeah,
And there's days I come home and I'm like, oh, when is this going to be done? But, you know, again, it's the process and part of it. And,
yeah,
you know, a couple more weeks and you'll have everything done. But that's for me, man. I'm a big process guy. You know, I love that. That's just me. That's just who I am.
yeah, for sure. All right, man. I got one more question for you. This is
Yeah.
the big one that we end with. Um, man, what do you want your legacy to be for this home team of, you know, of Sacramento, of Galt, of Yuba, like all these
Yeah.
areas that you've lived in, but like I said, Sacramento, the greater area. What do you want your legacy to be?
Man, you know, I don't know, man. I just, as a player, like when I played football, uh, the last game that I ever played at the JUCO level, we lost, and I walked off the field. And I had a smile on my face. I was good. I was happy
Yeah.
because I knew I left it all on the field. You know, I knew that I gave everything I had on every single play. So I walked away and I wasn't disappointed. And that's the same thing for me as a coach and as a person, whether it be in a relationship, whether it be as a friend, whether it be as a coach on the field. Like, I'm gonna give it everything I can. I'm gonna give you everything I got. If I can get some more, I'm gonna give it for you. But just know that I'm always gonna give you 110%, whether it be as a coach, as a mentor, as whatever you need me to be, and I'm always gonna be by your side. I'm always gonna be here to make sure that you're good. And at the end of the day, if we don't accomplish what we set out to be, at least we should be happy with what we did because we put our all into it. I'm good with that. And at the end of the day, man, like for me, I'm just that type of person that I'm gonna give you all of me and more, and if I can help you get better, I'm gonna do whatever it is that I need to do, whether that be to push you, motivate you, or just buckle that last button on your helmet and you're good. Like, I'll be that guy, and that's how I am on the team. I mean, there's been teams where I've been a film guy. All I do is film on Saturdays, and if that's my job for that day and I make it happen and we're good and we win and we're successful, I'm happy with that. It's all about the team. So that's pretty much anybody who knows me knows that's what I'm all about. So,
Yeah. It's awesome, man. Well, hey, man, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. Where can they follow you guys? The football team. If you want them to follow you, where can
so
they
we
follow
got
you?
our Instagram page. It's just Yuba College Football on Instagram. We got a Facebook page, Yuba College Football. Um, we're gearing up for summer ball, man. We're hopefully it's been tough with recruiting. The COVID has done a lot to recruiting. A lot, we get a lot of out of state guys,
Yeah.
and that's what it's hurt a lot of us. It's hurt that our team a lot in that aspect because a lot of guys ain't traveling out here no more.
Yeah.
Just because either they're COVID, sick, whatever, or they're just done with that. But yeah, man, Yuba College football. We're trying to get back on track here, man. Make another run at another bowl game and win
There
another
you
bowl
go.
title. So
That's
so
awesome,
we're
man.
excited. We're excited, man. Yeah. So
That's all. Where's your restaurant located?
Cuatro Amigos Mexican Grill. It's right off of Gateway Oaks and El Camino. So it's on the west side of I-5, like in the Greenhaven. No, not the. I'm sorry, the Garden Highway area, over in that area. So
Perfect. So go
yeah,
check it
man.
out.
So
Go check it
yeah,
out.
come by and check us out, man. We got the best burritos and tacos in town, man. So
I'm not. Hey, man, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not that way very often, but I may have to make a special trip out that way.
yeah, man, come by and see us, man. We've been doing really well. Long story short was my partner and I, we bought that from someone else. We came in and said, hey, man, like the guy he was getting ready to shut it down, and we were looking for an opportunity. So we made an offer, we made it happen. So we pretty much came in and we gutted the whole place. We put a whole new menu up, and my business partner has had a bunch of restaurants before, so he's kind of been through it already. So, and I'm just kind of following his lead, man. And, I'm working my normal job and then I'm doing that right now because I still got to pay my bills, and we're still new,
Yeah.
but we're doing well. I mean, it's getting busier. Summertime's around the corner, so we're good. We're good. Things are happening and we're every day we're doing better and better, man. That's all we want to do. That's all we ask, so
It's awesome, man. Well, I'd love to hear it. Hey, man, again,
appreciate
thank
you, man.
you. Thank you so much for taking some time, man. We always appreciate your support over all these years, man. And yeah, good luck with this season and good luck with everything you got going.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. And yeah, man, I follow you guys. I love all the content that you guys put out, man. I love it. And you guys keep doing your thing, man. And we'll just hopefully we'll meet in person down the road.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. All right, take care.